there's one thing I love more than trains, or at least just as much, it's definitely history. More specifically, learning about history. But if I'm honest, the two subjects go hand in hand. Like bread and butter, like peanut butter and jelly, like the Tugs Trust Organization and horrible management. It's as if the two were made for each other. And oftentimes I like learning about history that focuses on both. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about one of the more fascinating parts of train history. One that's been memed and culturalized to death, but at the same token is still something that I find quite interesting. So for this video, let's take it back to World War II and take a look at one of the most intimidating weapons to ever see the light of day, that being the Gustav cannon. Before we get into this, fair warning, I may say some of these names quite wrong, but to be fair, they're Nazis, so I don't really care. The Gustav was an 80cm German railway gun. It was developed in the late 1930s as siege artillery, and was made for the explicit purpose of destroying the strongest fortifications in existence at the time. The fully assembled gun weighed nearly 1,350 tons, and could fire 7-ton shells to a range of 47 kilometers. In length, the cannon was 47.3 meters, with a barrel length of 32.5 meters, and was 11.6 meters high. Being so big, it took about 250 people to assemble the gun in 3 days, and another 2,500 to lay the track and dig embankments. It also required 2 flak battalions to protect the gun from air attack. It fired around every 30 to 45 minutes, or typically 14 rounds a day, not firing much in terms of quantity, but to wherever it's targeted on, delivering a devastating blow. The gun itself was designed in preparation for the Battle of France, but was not ready for action when the battle began. Plus, in any case, the Blitzkrieg was quickly outflanking and isolating Belgium. So instead, Gustav was sighted, but later deployed into the Soviet Union, where, among other things, it destroyed a munitions depot roughly 30 meters below ground, that being in the Battle of Sevastopol, part of Operation Barbarossa. The gun was moved to Leningrad, and may have been intended to be used in the Warsaw Uprising like other German heavy siege pieces. But this uprising was crushed, that being before it could be prepared to fire. And the Gustav itself was destroyed by its makers, being taken apart by the Germans near the end of the war in 1945 to avoid the capture of the Soviet Red Army. Gustav was the largest caliber rifled weapon ever used in combat, and in terms of overall weight, the heaviest mobile artillery piece ever built. Compared to any other form of artillery, it's fired the heaviest shells, and was only surpassed in caliber by the unused British Mallet's mortar, and the Americans' Little David bomb testing mortar, both at 36 inches, but was the only one of these three to ever be used in combat. In 1934, the German Army High Command commissioned Krupp of Essen, or Krupp of I don't know, to design the cannon. A test model of the Gustav was built in 1939 and sent to the Hillersleben Proving Ground, that being for testing. Firing at a high elevation, the 7.1-ton shell was able to penetrate the specified 7 meters of concrete and the 1 meter of armor plate. In 1940, when the tests were completed, the complex chassis and carriage was developed, and Alfred Krupp, after whose father the gun was named, personally hosted Hitler at the proving ground during the formal acceptance of the Gustav cannon. 2 of these guns were ordered. On September 10th of 1941, the first round was test-fired from the commissioned gun barrel, from a makeshift gun carriage. In November of 1941, the barrel itself would undergo 8 further firing tests, which were carried out using the 71,000 kilogram armor-piercing rounds, out to a range of 37,210 meters. When used in combat, the gun itself was mounted on a specially designed chassis, which was supported by 8 bogies on 2 parallel railway tracks. Each of these bogies had 5 axles, giving the gun a total of 40, and Krupp would name the gun Schwerer Gustav, German for Heavy Gustav, after the senior director of the firm, Gustav Krupp. The gun itself could fire a heavy concrete piercing shell and a lighter high explosive shell. An extremely long-range rocket projectile was also planned, with a range of 150 kilometers that would have required the barrel to be extended to 84 meters. And in keeping with the tradition of the Krupp company, no payment was asked for the first gun. They would charge approximately 24 million USD for the second gun, Dora, named after the senior engineer's wife. Now you may be asking yourself, what happened to the Gustav cannon? Especially if the Nazis took it apart to avoid it getting captured by the Soviet Union. Well, that plan kinda backfired. On the 14th of April in 1945, one day before the arrival of U.S. troops, Gustav was destroyed to prevent its capture. On the 22nd of April in 1945, its ruins were discovered in a forest about 15 kilometers north of Auerbach. In the summer of 1945, Gustav was studied by Soviet specialists, and in the same year was transferred, where the Soviets were gathering German military material. Thereafter, the trial of the gun was lost. In March of 1945, Dora was transferred to Grafenwohr and was blown up there on April 19th. After the discovery of Gustav's ruins, Dora's soon after were also found, and part of a third gun was found after the war in Krupp production facilities in Essen. Currently, the world's largest Dora ensemble is located in the military's History Museum of Bundeswehr in Dresden. Man, I'm probably butchering these names. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the history of the Gustav cannon. Again, I'm sorry if I said any of these names wrong. There were definitely some pronunciations that I had to look up, and after looking them up, I'm still not sure. But hopefully you guys will still be able to get the idea of what I'm saying. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always more stuff on the way. And as always, guys, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.